Hello, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed students and young professionals, talents from the whole region. On behalf of WOM Expo, our organizer, I would like to welcome you to the Virtual Tech Job Fair 2023. My name is Bernard Tivezic, and I'm the editor of the first mainstream startup publication in Croatia, Startup Report by Jutarnji List. I'll be your host for the opening of this conference. I'm thrilled to address you today on behalf of our organizer, WOM Expo, as we embark on this exciting three-day journey dedicated to the exploration of fantastic work opportunities in the dynamic tech and related industries of our Southeast European region. We gather colleagues from Croatia, Slovenia, Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Kosovo, Albania, and North Macedonia in this truly first-of-a-kind event. While we might be physically distant, our virtual gathering is a testament to the power of technology, connecting us from all corners of this region. Behind these technologies are teams working on our live stream and web platform to ensure we have the best user experience possible. If you encounter any technical difficulty, please send email to info@womexpo.com. info@womexpo.com. In this area of wonder, digital transformation, and the rise of IE, we find ourselves at the forefront of a digital revolution. It's a time reminiscent of a great explorers of the past, charting new territories and discovering uncharted lands. Just as those explorers were driven by the thirst for adventure, knowledge, and the promise of the unknown, you, our young talents, are the modern explorers of our age. Here at the Virtual Tech Job Fair 2023, we are at the epicenter of burgeoning tech and innovation hub in Southeast Europe. The opportunities that await you in the region are nothing short of spectacular. From the vibrant startup ecosystem, and some are counting 6 to 7 unicorns created so far in the region, to the well-established industry giants, large companies with domestic roots working in all parts of the globe, Southeast Europe offers a diverse range of possibilities. We are here to help you discover those possibilities. It's a region where tradition meets innovation and where the past enriches the future. Over the next 3 days, this event, the Virtual Tech Job Fair 2023, will be your compass, guiding you through the vast landscape of career prospects. We've designed a virtual environment that mimics the feel of a live event, complete with video, chat, tools, and the opportunity to connect with industry leaders, hiring managers, and like-minded peers. Our agenda is packed with great content, from keynote speakers by tech visionaries to practical workshops on emerging technologies. We've created a wide array of sessions, so whether you are a seasoned professional or just starting your journey, you will find something that resonates with your aspirations. But at the heart of this conference lies in the opportunities it provides. You'll have the chance to interact with potential employers and build connections that could shape your career. Our career fair will bring together a vast network of companies eager to tap into the talent pool of the future. In this virtual space, you can share your resume, engage in one-on-one conversations with recruiters, and even schedule interviews from all from comfort of your home. We'll now start a panel. At the start, we gathered professionals from all the region to talk about Tech Fair Awaken, setting the stage for innovation and inspiration. The members of our group are Robert Choban, co-founder of Color Press Group, Zoran Vehovar, CTO of Telemach Slovenia, Martina Verovic, Human Resource Director at Rimac Automobili, Ognjen Zlatev, Advisor and Communications Strategist at European Commission, and Blaženka Divjak, a scientist and university professor at the Faculty of Organization and Informatics, University of Zagreb. So welcome to our panel. Okay. Yeah. Okay, for a panel, we will guide you and give you a glimpse of the conference. We'll go to topic number 1. During the first day, we'll discuss the topic to stay or to go. This is the biggest challenge of our region. A lot of young talents are choosing career outside of the region, despite the fact that there are great possibilities in the region. But at the same time, it is forgotten that numerous excellent opportunities lies here in the region. So let's dive into the topic. The first question, how do you feel about the current talent situation in the region? And that's a question maybe best to ask for Blaženka Divjak.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. And at the beginning, I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers, but also all the panelists here and those of you that are joining us on this panel. So I agree that we should approach this talent situation from different perspectives. But let me say that, of course, we have a lot of talents, a lot of young people that can contribute and actually are contributing to development and innovation in our countries. But also we have a problem because the brain drain in this region is quite high. So it means that a lot of talented young people actually decided to go away to try better conditions of living, better salaries in different other countries. So it is a problem, I would say, on a level of European Union, but on a global level. But at the same time, we should be aware that not every mobility is negative, because if you are trying to find, opportunity abroad to upskill, to reskill, to prove that you are a really good professional or learn something, then I would say it is very, very something that we should support. But at the same time, in this region, we should really work very hard to ensure opportunities for young people, for companies, for talents to stay, and also to attract talents from other countries. So it's not just opportunity to learn, opportunity to educate, like good schools, good universities, but also well-being, so conditions for the people to stay here, conditions for companies to flourish, and also some, I would say, incentives for young families or families in general from all around the world to settle here, having, I don't know, probably kindergarten for children that are not speaking Croatian, or having certain content and certain environment that can be appealing for people to come. So talents, of course, talents are, I would say, distributed evenly, but opportunities are not. And our aim here is to actually understand what kind of opportunities we should put on the table to attract, and also attract our talents that have been spread around the world, but also attract the people from other countries to come and live here. It's very quick, and I hope that I described how I see it.
Thank you, Blaženka. Robert, how do you feel about the current talent situation in the region? I'm sorry, your mic is off.
Okay. A couple of years ago in Rovinj, Weekend Media Festival was a panel with same topic, with the name "Should I Stay or Should I Go?" as a name of the song. And this is really something that is present for like more than 1 decade. We have companies in all 6 countries of former Yugoslavia, so Belgrade, Zagreb, Ljubljana, Sarajevo, Skopje, Podgorica too, and we see this as a problem, maybe not so big problem in our media industry. I don't remember case, for example, in Belgrade or Novi Sad, that journalists or editors that we have case that they leave a country. Maybe they move from company to company, from Novi Sad to Belgrade or to big cities. But in this industry, maybe it's not so big problem like in some other industries. In my personal view, as Blaženka said, it is not necessarily bad news. I think it's good for young people to go to universities. I have older daughter now in Boston University, and I don't know, maybe she will stay after this in America, but maybe she will come back to Serbia. So it is not necessarily a bad thing. Their experience that they will find there in all over the world, in Europe or United States, can be really helpful for our societies and for example, media industry or event industry. We are present last 30 years in traditional media, magazine publishing industry, and last, let's say, 10 years also in event industry, so organizing conferences and festivals all over the region. So I think we should look at this problem from both sides, not necessarily as a bad news.
Thank you, Robert. Martina, what do you feel about the current talent situation in the region? Is your feeling similar to the one that Robert expressed?
Okay, so hi everybody. Thank you for inviting me here, and thank you for organizing this. So thinking about this topic, I was doing the reverse, let's say, thinking. So seeing many of the foreigners coming to Croatia for our purposes, for example, I think this is confirmation that we basically do not have all the talents we need for the needs the companies here have. The talents in Croatia and in the region are really good, and they're of high quality, however, insufficient, or at least insufficient with some specific industry knowledge that we don't have. Some industries are just non-existent in Croatia, such as automotive. So there's just no experts in that field. So therefore, we need to insource a lot of foreigners from all over the world, sometimes for very, I would say, sometimes for Western European countries, which then means that people move from UK, from Germany, from Italy, or some other countries to Croatia. However, we also have people who are coming from other regional countries. And what I can say is, to answer on the question, should I stay or should I go, or whatever we phrase it, basically, I think the main question is basically in the end personal. So to gain the competencies that somebody wants to gain and to progress with a career, that might be a really good option. For some of them short term, for some long term, as we have the same examples. So we have people who come and stay for like 5 years, but we as well have people who are here for more than 5 years or 10 years. Some of them have families here and have bought flats and apartments and moved their life here. So it really depends. In the end, it seems like career progress is one part of the equation, and second one is, where do we stand with our life decisions, let's say it like that, meaning we sometimes even have people coming from countries for whom salaries in Croatia are higher than what they would have in their own country, and they still at some point decide to come back to family and friends, to their original country, let's say it like that. So it really depends in the end on what are the priorities, and same for people from Croatia. If we want to gain the specific industry knowledge, specific working experience, then it might be very beneficial to get it at where the headquarter of what we need to have of the knowledge is happening. So to go there, but in the end, I think we have talents in Croatia, and I think the talents can stay in Croatia and have very good perspective. So that's my opinion. I think it's to make a decision, it's both the career decision and it's also a combination of personal items. Let's say it like that.
Thank you, Martina. We have Zoran from Slovenia, Telemach Slovenia. How do you feel about the current talent situation in the region?
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation. I would just continue what Martina just has said. You know, that's similar situation. You know, I'm still from old enough that I recall being, you know, living together in ex-Yugoslavia. So the whole region has had a quite good education system. So we produce many good experts, which are many now successful internationally. You meet when you travel or you live abroad, you meet many people from good engineers, very appreciated engineers abroad, right? So that brain drain is a fact, right? So the question, one thing for sure, we have many talented people on one hand. On the other hand, actually the interest, what I see, the interest to apply for studies for young people, there's more open positions in universities than applications. So there's not enough interest. I believe we have to spread this message that these are jobs in technology and IT for the future, and young people should apply. That's one thing. The second thing, of course, is we cannot find. We have all the time open positions. We don't get applications for these open positions, particularly in the area where I'm responsible for, you know. So there could be a couple of reasons for that. One I mentioned is this insufficient interest, you know, for studies, for generating new experts. The second is maybe just economy, you know, which better economy you have, better you can pay, more attractive these jobs are, and less drain of the experts you will have to the West or to the richer countries. So that's, I believe, we have to spread all the time and advertise the, let me say, attractiveness of these positions or these careers in the future, right? Even now, I believe that now, you know, when young IT engineer, for instance, I have two daughters, two IT developers in my house, you know, both can get jobs anywhere they want, right? So of course they will choose the best for their career. They will pursue personally what they believe is the best. My daughter lives in Netherlands and work as an IT developer there. So it seems that opportunities there are likely better than here, right?
Okay. Thank you, Zoran. I will ask Ognian to give us a little bit broader perspective on the subject. So what's your feel about the current talent situation, but not just specifically in the Southeast European region, but whether this is a situation that is present in the rest of the Europe as well?
Thank you very much. Dobar dan, dobar den, Mirdita. I have this little bit confusing situation for myself, because on one hand I work for the European Commission, but on the other hand I come from the region. So all these problems and issues that we're discussing and challenges are very familiar to me and very close to my heart. But as you rightly pointed out, while I fully subscribe to what has already been said by the previous distinguished speakers, I would also like to put a little bit the things in perspective, to see where are we here in our region vis-a-vis the developments in Europe and globally. As you know, in the last 3-4 years, we as Europe as a continent, I'm not talking about European Union, but Europe as a continent has been suffering or confronting with several crises that were coming one after another, and this immediately inevitably had effects on all our lives. And some of the lessons that we learned from the crisis that we went through, like the economic crisis, the pandemic, the post-pandemic, etc., gave us some, how to say, insights that, okay, we really need, in view of the very rapid developments in 21st century and the coming decades. We really need to rethink and perhaps reshape the way our economies operate in order to be stronger to confront future challenges that will appear inevitably. So we need to become more competitive, to have better skills among our workforce, and at the same time offer better conditions to our citizens. Because I mean, there are a lot of researches that demonstrated that, for example, I have some statistical data in front of me. If we look to the very near future, let's say 2030, there are projections that over 90% of the jobs that would exist in 2030 would require digital skills. And do you know what is the level at the moment? It's, I'm afraid, very low. We say that at this moment, only 54% of our, let's say, workforce has only basic digital skills, let alone not to talk about the more developed ones. Then we say that, I mean, the employers in Europe say that there are 38 occupations, or let's say jobs, that we simply don't have sufficient workforce. 77% of the companies across Europe are struggling to find employees. And I mean, I can go on and go on and go on. So how to deal with this situation? There are several directions to the answer, to answer this. Number one, the best thing is, of course, to nurture and bring and develop your own resource. I mean, our young people that are here, to offer them, on one hand, excellent education, and on the other hand, excellent professional realization, so that they don't go away. Of course, there's a second trend, which is with the workforce that are already in active employment, but are, let's say, in a little bit, how to say, more mature age, let's say in their late 40s or 50s, or even early 60s, to give them the opportunity to reskill, as Blaženka said, or upskill, improve, get new qualifications, or improve the knowledge they already have, so that they could become more competitive. Unfortunately, on this particular point here in our region, Southeast Europe, this concept of lifelong learning and reskilling and upskilling is not very popular. So this is something where we all should, I would say, focus and concentrate our efforts. And of course, there is a third trend, how to improve the situation, and that is to attract specialists and labor force from third countries. One could argue, but this is the easiest way to solve the situation. But at the same time, I mean, we really need to think about the consequences this would have. First of all, what it would mean for our own, as I said, citizens, for our own resources. I mean, why should we forcefully sending our children to go abroad and not offering them perspective so that they could come back and spend their life here? Of course, I fully support the opportunities that are now available through various programs like Erasmus+, etc., that young people go away, go abroad, get some education abroad all around the world, and some of them hopefully would return back. But at the same time, we really need to use all available resources, and there are resources through various EU-funded programs, and that are open for everybody, not only for the EU member states, but also I want to underline that these opportunities are available also for our friends and neighbors here from the countries that are aspiring to join the EU as well, to make the most use of it, so that we really develop this capacity and keep it here. Because on the other hand, our region as a whole, I think, has the better growth perspectives if you compare it with other, let's say, regions in Europe. I think here we still the potential for growth here in our region is much higher than, let's say, in the western part of the continent. So we should really build on this.
Thank you, Ognian. Really inspiring. I know that in Rimac Automobili, they managed to attract a lot of foreigners, especially from Western Europe, to come to our region to work from here. So the question for Martina is, how rich are the opportunities for the talent, and especially what did you at Rimac Automobili did that made such an attracting to attract the foreign talent to come to the region?
Okay, so saying this, yes, we have approximately in total 600 to 800 foreigners in the company out of 2,200, which is quite a huge proportion, and all of them have relocated to Croatia, which is even more difficult, to be honest. So unfortunately, fortunately, because we have a product and the engineers need to be close to the product, it is just not possible for majority of the engineers to work remotely, because if they're completely away from the product, they basically cannot test it, they cannot simulate, they cannot see, real, and feel basically what they are building, let's say it like that. So I think that the main success factor to succeed in attracting people from all over the world is having the high quality and high-end product that basically is on the world level something that people admire, something that people see is breaking the boundaries of what's possible, bending the physics, as we say. So, when people want to move the borders of what's possible, then they don't actually make a decision of, I will work for a company that's close to my home, so I don't want to relocate or anything like that. And naming this, I think there are only maybe just in these hypercars, so basically cars that are bending the physics of what's possible and building the path to what will be possible in future also for the regular cars, because that happens like 30 years after, as we know. So those that are basically pioneering in this area, there are only few hypercar cars in the world. So we are one of maybe at most 10 different companies that are producing cars or manufacturing cars with these kind of performance features. So saying this, there are several in UK, there are several some in US, some in some other countries, but there is not so many. So we kind of attract the people who really love doing things that are not within the standards of what's usual, but what's kind of, I would say, extraordinary. And for that, because these people love the extraordinary, they also don't mind doing the extra mile to move or to come here. So I think the combination of the high quality product and these extraordinary performances that are not usually seen is something that has attracted people here. And then we built upon that, we built the whole system to make this transition as smooth as possible for them. For some of them, it's really smooth. For some of them, it's really cultural shock, because if they come from, some other continents, then you might imagine that there are a lot of things they will just need to accommodate to and just get to learn. But we are looking forward to that, and I think it's getting better and better and easier. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Martina. Zoran, you come from industry which is built on top-notch technology. Practically, what we use in our region is used in Silicon Valley as well. So, how rich are the opportunities for talents in your company and also in your sector? Thank you.
Yeah, good question. So. There are several opportunities and many positions opened. We try to attract people also from abroad via LinkedIn, but here, similarly to what Martina again has said, we compete here with all other countries. If you get somebody from other continent, you have to be competitive at the end. it's all over European Union, and good expert can go anywhere, right? So we need to be attractive with not just with the, how to say, the quality of the hire, of the employment, but as well with the pay at the end of the day, you know. What I see, what I've seen since COVID, actually the experts' average earnings have grown significantly, more than inflation rate. So that's good, because that makes our profession more, let me say, attractive for new talents. So you know, we are growing particularly in IT area, cloud area, ICT, data centers, and these areas. So I always reiterate, always emphasize towards IT and IP, you know, because we are IP providers as well, telecom, business, mobile, fixed, 5G, etc. You know, so these are the foundations. You know, if you are like a developer, you are like a Linux expert, you have some feeling as well for software development, you are the right for us. So we are really trying to get as many as such experts. But again, it's very hard to get them. It's not easy to get them.
So there are market conditions
market conditions. There are in Slovenia, particularly in Slovenia, lots of small, very successful companies. You know, like in gaming, for instance. I just heard that they got a couple of new experts and paid them really high salary, because they can afford that. Their business is very lucrative. There are a lot of small firms developing various products, not just hardware as well as software. And here's a hunger for new experts is huge, you know. So we have to fight. We also always have to investigate what's the benchmark the market, let me say, conditions or market prices on what we have to offer new candidates to be competitive.
Thank you. When we talk about attractiveness of the industries, there are hypercars, there's telco, but there's also media. I mean, young people live in the age of TikTok, and this is really exciting, and the whole new industry is built upon that. So, Robert, how rich are the opportunities for talent in your industry and specifically in your company? Thank you.
Yeah, in media industry here in Serbia, but the same is in the region. We have for the last 2 decades problem with journalists, because university faculty, for example, Faculty of Political Science in Belgrade or Filozofski fakultet in Novi Sad, they have after 4 years of studying journalism, they have all young journalists that they are prepared only for like political dailies or political TV shows, and market needs maybe 5% of them. In our portfolio, we have a lot of magazines in different niche, in automotive industry, hair, teenage magazines, food, different kind of food magazines. And no one faculty, school or high school prepare those young journalists for that kind of niche jobs. They are all prepared for let's say working for N1 television or that kind of media which there is not space enough. That's why last let's say 15 years we organize our own school for journalists and editors in-house, where we prepared young people who are, I don't know, active on social media like influencers, or from young journalists from universities or students to work for us, for need of our different niches, because we need to adapt their knowledge and everything to that. And I think this is the only way to find. And then after 3 months of this let's say quick school, they realized if this job is for them, and we can say, okay, this young guy or this young girl is okay for us, and this is just our way to find talents from all market in the region, especially in Serbia. You are muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Robert. You opened a great question for Blaženka, because Ognjen already spoke about challenges in education, and you mentioned that there are some misalignment between the market and the education.
Absolutely.
In that regard. So, Blaženka, how are faculties and universities prepared for these challenges that we have with talents in the region?
Thank you. I think it's a great topic. I agree, but this kind of a mismatch of skills and that the industry is actually asking for, and something that sometimes can be seen as products of higher education. It is a question that we should really explain a bit. So I'm working at a faculty of organization and informatics, and we are quite interdisciplinary. Basically, I'm a mathematician, so my PhD is in mathematics, so I cover mathematics, but also e-learning, IT stuff, and so on, project management. So I think it is very important also for teachers or professors to be interdisciplinary, but also that faculty and study programs today should be as interdisciplinary as they can. So for our students, because they are developers mostly, if they're studying at our faculties in IT programs, but of course they have not just this hard stuff like mathematics, coding, but also understand the organization, management, and also soft skills, communicate, how to work in communities that are diverse from the point of view of cultures, like actually Martina said, and so on. So I think that it is, I would say the good formula should be nowadays for those that are going to work in tech industry, math-loving people's person. So you should know basics. You should be good in some hard stuff, some fundamental sciences, but also to have to think about applicability of your knowledge and skills today, and have social skills. And this creativity, innovation, and interdisciplinary is quite difficult nowadays to have, because it means there are totally different perspective on a staff development at higher education. Then it is very, very important to have industry faculty collaboration. For example, this week we at Faculty of Organization Informatics, we have a career week. So one full week of employers coming here and working with our students, having workshops and so on. And also work with us, so it is with scientists, professors, and so on. So I think this kind of a communication nowadays is very important with the industry, and also to understand that we can help also industry to develop their own programs, or working together on micro qualifications in a way that Ognjen actually emphasized lifelong learning, skilling, reskilling, because nowadays learning is also industry. So learning industry is also industry. So for example, we are working quite many programs, projects with industrial partners to develop some, let's say, tools for e-learning or learning design or micro qualifications. So we should work together, because I think that there is not one universal answer. Sometimes people from the industrial sector would like to have, those professionals that can immediately start to work. Of course, many of you here, you actually emphasize that you're aware that it's not possible, but very often we hear this kind of demands. But we should understand that technology is very fast changing. And then on the one hand side, we should really ensure that there is no black box. And especially today, when we are talking about artificial intelligence, there are a lot of black box problems that we are actually tackling. But so they should have kind of a basic fundamental understanding and knowledge. That's the first. And second, that we are aware that we should work together in a way that training in industry or coming back to some specializations to the university faculty, it is our business, so everyday business. So it is not just that we are getting our diploma and then we are, ready to work in one sector until retirement. So it is a very complex, but there are still quite a lot of solutions we can use, but to also be aware that, for example, the role of university is not just to produce people with skills that can be immediately used, but with a broader knowledge of understanding, critical thinking, reasoning, argumentation, but at the same time keep them to be innovative and creative.
Thank you, Blaženka. As I understood, Robert will have to leave soon. So thank you for the intro into the second topic of our panel. During the second day of the virtual tech job fair 2023, we'll examine the future skill toolbox. We'll discuss the knowledge candidates should focus on companies and companies' needs. So this is a question for Robert. How do you have? Does your organization know what skills they seek? For example, now in 3 or 5 years. Sorry, in 5 years. Is it possible to at this space of technology?
It's really good. It's really good question. In our case, we have transferred some of our people that was journalists or editor or designers to be event managers, and we even find a way to buy some hardware which was 15 years ago unimaginable to have in case of classical media company. That, I don't know, for example, 2 weeks ago we organized Oktoberfest in Novi Sad. As you can imagine, what do you need to organize 2 days Oktoberfest with all music bands and beer and people from Belgrade and Novi Sad in cooperation with Serbia Train and everything. So we don't know what will happen in 2 years or 5 years. So we just keep our people to stay prepared to change their skills, to change their position inside the company. And this motto, change or die, I think it's really motto of our company last 30 years. If you can imagine what we survived here is in the whole region, but especially in Serbia, since 1992, when we started. Since 1992, we survived like 5 wars, 1 NATO bombing, 2 hyperinflation, 1 assassination of prime minister, 1 global economic crisis, floods, pandemics, war in Ukraine. So everything that things that you can influence. So you have to be prepared always to change as a company, to change your portfolio, to change your platforms, products, and also to force and encourage your people to change inside of this. And if you have this as a philosophy of your company, I think you are in good position. But it's not easy always, of course.
Thank you, Robert. A question for Ognjan. Do you have what is the situation with projecting future skilled needs in Europe, in European region, not just in our Southeastern Europe region? do organizations, companies um, see what kind of skills they will seek in 3 or 5 years?
Yes, I already mentioned this in my previous intervention that according to some projections, 90% of the future jobs after 2030 would require good solid knowledge of or possession of digital skills. I mean, there are also other projections related to, for example, development of infrastructure, especially infrastructure related to the digital and green transition that we now put as set as a priorities. Increasing the production, for example, of chips in Europe and not being dependent on imports from countries that are far away. But also the most important thing is to develop our own capacity. I mean, the capacity of specialists, of people, our people that could, take all these new jobs that would appear. And that's why the Commission pronounced 2023 to May 2024. This period is pronounced as European Year of Skills. I mean, you can see the background behind me. Precisely with this idea to promote this notion that we really need to change. Why I'm saying this? Because the social and education policies are subject to the national competence. There are no, there are no, let's say, directives or pan-European solutions that would be dumped from above, but each country should decide on according to the specific national specifics how to approach it. But the important thing is that we really need to change something in order to respond to these requirements and these challenges of the coming decades. If we want to be competitive, if we want our economy to be stronger, and if at the end of the day, if we want to make the life of our citizens better. That's why the Commission, what the Commission could do is to offer resources, and these resources are available in each of the, as I said, member states, but also in the countries that are aspiring to join the EU. So I would strongly recommend and advise for all our participants, and especially perhaps to their parents or older members of the family, to consult with the national authorities, with the public employment services, with the respective agencies that are handling the various EU programs in their countries, how to get involved. I mean, because we are in Croatia, I can give some very good examples from Croatia. During my time when I served in Zagreb, initiatives that, for example, both Ministry of Education and also Ministry of Labor were actually providing. So this is the way forward. Otherwise, we will be lagging behind. And as I said, let's not forget that the global developments, industrial, political, etc., if you compare the pace of changes that were happening, let's say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or 50 years ago, with the pace of changes that are happening now, I mean, nobody's going to wait for us. I mean, we really need to be very quick, very adaptive, and even to kind of see a little bit ahead what is coming up, so that we are competitive. Everybody wants to come and live in Europe, and this is for a good reason, because we have the strongest economy, we have the best social security systems, and that's why the whole world, especially the development world, wants to move in. But our prime task is to actually to secure the well-being of our own citizens, and then decide how to whether we should be more selective when we accept let's say specialists from abroad.
Thank you, Ognian. I'll go to the topic number 3. On the first day, we'll debate the topic of early career development. The critical question for talents ask themselves as they finish education. This is closely related to skills, since the talents are actually also feeling this misalignment and the pace of development of technology and also the changes in industries, and it's pretty, I presume, pretty difficult for them to just choose how to proceed with their career after education. But from what I notice, companies are pretty agile in that part. And this is a question for Martina and later Zoran. How do you what approach do you take to find new talent? Where do you seek for new talents? Thank you, Zoran.
Yes, let me begin with actually I took some notes here. What areas I believe, seeing the needs now and particularly in the future will be needed in like a digital skills, particularly just to count them. Will not go to the digital. So here we go. Let me see 5-6 areas. So data scientists, DBA, database. New databases like graphical databases, for instance, data scientist, cloud architect, for instance, right? Developer, understanding as well new principles like microservices, Kubernetes, API development, etc., containers. Then, of course, coding, typical coding developers, various development languages from Java, C, web technologies, etc. And at the end as well, like IP experts, routing, who has a good insight into IP world, web world, networking people. These people are so much sought, no matter of the industry. We are not talking here IT firms. We are talking all the firms, will need such profiles to develop, to go into digitalization. I worked as well in banking, for instance. They need it. Banking firms are, banks are today IT firms. So security as well to mention, right? IT security, cyber security, SOC analysts. It's just, millions are needed globally today. Such numbers, huge numbers are needed, and these positions are not filled. So these are the areas which will further develop, and the gap will just increase between the demand and supply of new experts. So that's what I expect. Of course, the channels. Of course, you have to advertise in the channels where this, young people, potential your employers actually use. In fact, you don't advertise in a typical traditional forms, but LinkedIn is a good way. Like these fairs, like any kind of digital form, or Facebook, TikTok, or anywhere there, in the world, which is familiar to these experts globally.
Thank you, Zoran. Martina?
Yeah, I think similar as Zoran. I think he already mentioned a lot, so I have not a lot to add. But basically, yes, we use all the channels and all the methodologies that we can think of to attract people. And I think it's not only about looking for a candidate when you have the need, but as well if you're embedded in the community, and you should be, of course, local or international, then you're basically everything you're doing, and that's today called employer branding, but it was existent since ever. Everything you're doing as a company is basically building, let's say, kind of an image of the company as employer, and is kind of helpful to find and attract the talents. So it's everything that Zoran just mentioned, but also some contents, challenges we do. I think, for example, engineers really like to be part of some challenging tasks that they can or cannot resolve, and then they're even more motivated to come, because they see that the challenges for their brain are going to be really difficult, but also empowering. So that's how we look for the talents. Maybe just to kind of connect this with what we've talked about before, we don't have expectation, at least I can say from our end, we don't have an expectation that the students coming from the faculties would know everything, and that we as a company need to get ready workforce that, you know, somebody just finishes studies and comes to us and is already able to work within the industry, or, you know, to do the high-tech methodology. So that's not the expectation. I think that what studies should provide is basically a way of thinking, way of resolving problems, way of seeing, I would say, the challenges. So it's basically more mindset and some of the technical competencies that are necessary in foundations. And everything else on top of that, we as an employer are fine with adjusting and with providing technical onboarding and everything that's needed. And we know that it takes investment. But the problem basically is that what Zoran just mentioned, the gap is getting bigger and bigger. And, you know, what at the moment we have, for example, in the region is not to be misunderstood, but I think it's a very old school way of educating our engineers. And then the gap between, so the smaller gap between what faculties provide and what employers are looking for, the better and easier for both sides and all the stakeholders. And at this point in time, I think we should bridge that gap. And there is, you know, the technologies are going faster and faster. And I think maybe the education system, as we know, should not follow all the way through with the pace, but should follow a little bit. And that's where we, at the moment, I think, have a gap.
Martina, are there some programs or collaboration with universities or other educational institutions to actually bridge that gap?
So what we invest a lot of our effort, and we as well have a team working with this. We have a team of 4 people who are working on this with the ministry, with different stakeholders, let's say like that. Is basically mobility and energy educational program, let's say it like that, to keep it a little bit undisclosed fully. But I think, so from our end, it's logical that we are into mobility, so I think that's clear. But also part of it, and part of the battery systems that we are building, is also energy and energy storage. So therefore, we are building this system and curriculum. As you might know, it takes time to build it, but we are fully aware that whatever we do, and all the foreigners we brought to Croatia, and all the shareholders we have from all over the world, basically they are telling us as well, you know, you need to build the workforce locally. And, you know, all these foreigners, you just need to do the transfer of knowledge here. So all the people in the company can just, you know, take the industry knowledge of the colleagues that were working somewhere else, and then they have this knowledge here in Croatia, and they didn't even need to relocate somewhere else. So I think that these are the opportunities. And on top of that, we want to build the curriculum to, you know, have the constant, let's say, educated people that from day one, they're better equipped to have this knowledge and to share it and to use it. So that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Thank you, Martina. I'll just share some service information that will be really valuable to our guests, and then we'll just do the closing remarks of the panel. I need to stress that content of the conference will be available up until November 19th. So you can watch all the sessions and communicate with the recruiters from 1 month after the event. After that, all will be unavailable. So please note that. And I would like to express gratitude on behalf of the organizer to our platinum sponsors. That's Lursen, Noom, Joberty, European Parliament, and Tech Duampone. The event is followed by media from all the region: Tanjuk, Euronews, Color Media, Ringier AS, K1, N1, Blitz, and Index HR. Okay, just to give the closing remarks, I would like to ask you all, what would you advise to young people when they are looking for when they are looking for when they're looking to start their career, how to do it, and whether these options are available to them in your companies. Thank you. That's a question for Zoran and Martina.
Yes, thank you. Very good question. So that's what I started earlier before, how to attract, how to advertise, how to convince actually young people to pursue the careers, to choose the education system or the schools which will give them enough opportunities or the knowledge, enough skill sets to actually to fill these future positions. You know, that's very important. So one thing, of course, what attracts you in general, it's a good question. But second is, what do you believe? What will be needed? But because one thing is the interest of young people. You know, they are spread all over the. You know, for instance, in Slovenia, very like humanistic studies are very attractive. Like law schools and etc. That's all good, but the question is what the society will need in the future. Because one thing is your interest, the second is the other question is what do you believe, what you can live off in the future, what will be the careers of the future, and you need to find a balance between them. You know, that I also had been saying that to my daughters, and they picked the right the direction, let me say, and they are happy and successful today. So it's we need to all the time reiterate that what is important for the future, because you want to be, let me say, successful and useful part of the society also in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. You're muted.
Thank you, Zoran, Martina. Yeah.
Okay, so I would follow what Zoran just said, basically, and maybe say we're a little bit, as a company, are a little bit less on the balance side and more on the, we are into future and into excitement and into, creating the future, I would say. So even one step further, let's try. So I somehow think that there is a way of doing what someone's personal interest is, because doing something that you don't like will not end well, I would say, but also combining that with what future will bring. So I think in any kind of chosen career you can as well progress, and I think that's critical. So whatever career somebody chooses, we just I think the studies are just the beginning, the very first point, and everything happens after that. So sounds maybe a little bit far away today, but that's, we all know it's like that. So a little bit of, I would say, a flavor. So choose what you love and then give it a flavor of being in time and even in future. So
thank you, Martina. And from the end, Ognjen and Blaženka, please give us a little bit of a European and also university perspective on this subject. Thank you.
Well, my message always, especially to young people, is to be proactive and to try to use as many opportunities as they could come across. I mean, of course, they cannot take all the opportunities, because if I compare the situation today with what the situation was, let's say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, or when I was at that stage, deciding whether I should go to university or I should start working a job, today there is an ocean of opportunities. So young people just need to be proactive and not get afraid or get discouraged if they fail at the first or second time. I mean, nothing comes immediately, but they should keep this focus if they have if they have decided, if they have an idea what they want to do with their lives, and just use these opportunities. I mean, we as an institution, as the European Commission, we're here to help, to assist. I mean, as already mentioned, and everybody knows about Erasmus Plus, but not only that. I mean, now there are hundreds of programs that support both education but also professional training. So that's why young people should be proactive. I mean, in our region, this is also a part of, let's say, psychology and mindset here in our region in Southeast Europe. We're kind of probably more passive, more used to live with our, let's say, parents, with our families, which is of course something very nice. And you know, me as a parent, I also like to see my kids that are around, no matter that they're already grown ups and they got their professional lives. But really, we should be changing this mindset, and we as educators, as parents, we should also encourage young people to be proactive and grab opportunities because they are there. Because if you don't grab them, if you don't grab the opportunities today, as I said, the wave is coming and it will take you over. So why don't be on top of the wave rather than under the wave? Thank you.
Thank you, Ognen. Blaženka?
Yes, I think that all of us should be aware that actually career development starts in schools, in universities. So we should, when we are choosing where to go, I think that for the university of higher education, it is a good sign if the faculty or university has a well-developed career center. So it means that they are helping, supporting students in not just studying, but career development. And also it means that they try to work with future employers, with policymakers to understand the opportunities that students can use, because education is not just sitting in a classroom and learning something by heart. So I think that's that we should be aware of that, and that's the reason. Of course, I would like to emphasize that in our region, in Croatia and other countries, there are many faculties that have career centers and that really invest in development of students' skills during the study. But also, I would like to finalize these closing remarks with also one very important message, that tech jobs are not just for math-loving technicians, but also for lawyers, for people studying in social sciences, humanities, because new technology also brings a lot of new questions, ethical considerations, considerations about the fairness of, for example, AI, biased decision-making, and so on. So we need all of you, and all of you can find your place in tech industry, even though you're not basically coming from technical faculties, study programs and schools. So I think that it is opportunity for all.
Thank you, Blaženka, Ognjan, Martina, Zoran, and Robert. You've been a great panelist. We heard a lot of very, very interesting things. Thank you for your attention, guests, and enjoy the next 3 days of our one-of-a-kind conference. This is the end of the opening session. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Our pleasure. Thank you. Bye. Bye.